Did you know that every single time Apple announces a new product, even before it hits the shelves, its stock price moves, consumer behavior shifts, and an entire ecosystem of industries reacts? Almost like clockwork. That's not a coincidence, that's strategy. Welcome back to the channel. If you're someone who's serious about building long-term wealth, understanding where to put your money, or just fascinated by how the world's most valuable company continues to dominate decade after decade, then this video is going to change the way you look at Apple, not just as a tech company, but as a masterclass in business engineering. Because here's what most casual investors miss. Apple doesn't just launch products, Apple launches events. And those events are carefully designed psychological, financial, and cultural machines that keep billions of people locked in and billions of dollars flowing in. So today, we're breaking down Apple's product launch strategy, why it works so powerfully, and most importantly, why it makes Apple one of the smartest long-term investments you can make right now. Let's get into it. Here's the real problem most investors face when they look at a company like Apple. On the surface, it looks too big, too established, too late to get in. People look at Apple's trillion-dollar valuation and think, the growth is already done, the easy money's been made. And if you're thinking that right now, I completely understand. It's a logical assumption, but it's also one of the most expensive assumptions you could make. See, the mistake people make is they evaluate Apple like a traditional tech company, one that lives and dies by its next product innovation. They ask, what's the next iPhone? As if Apple needs to reinvent the wheel every 2 years to stay relevant. But that thinking completely ignores the actual engine powering Apple's dominance. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most investors don't understand what Apple actually sells. They think it's hardware. iPhones, MacBooks, AirPods. And yes, hardware gets you in the door, but hardware is not what makes Apple's business model borderline unbeatable. What Apple sells, and what makes it extraordinary as a long-term investment, is loyalty, dependency, and a carefully constructed ecosystem that is almost impossible for users to leave once they're inside it. And their product launch strategy? That's the weapon they use to deepen that ecosystem every single year, without fail. So let's talk about exactly how Apple's product launch strategy works and why it's an investor's dream. Number 1, the art of controlled anticipation. Apple doesn't just release products, it creates cultural moments. Months before any launch, the internet is flooded with leaks, rumors, and speculation. And the wild thing, Apple allows a calculated level of this. The anticipation itself drives media coverage worth hundreds of millions of dollars for free. By the time the actual event drops, consumers are already emotionally invested. That's not marketing, that's masterful demand manufacturing. Number 2, the upgrade cycle machine. Apple has engineered one of the most reliable revenue cycles in business history. Every year, they release incremental but meaningful upgrades. Better camera, better chip, better battery. Nothing so dramatic that it makes your current device feel useless, but just enough to make you want the new one. This keeps hundreds of millions of users on a predictable spending loop. And for investors, predictable spending means predictable revenue. That's gold. Number 3, services are the real power move. Here's where Apple's strategy gets truly brilliant. While the world focuses on iPhone sales, Apple has been quietly building the most profitable subscription business on the planet. Apple Music, iCloud, Apple TV+, Apple Pay, the App Store. This is the services segment, and it is now generating over $85 billion annually and growing faster than any other part of Apple's business. Every product launch strengthens this service's flywheel. New device in someone's hand means another subscriber. Another subscriber means recurring revenue that doesn't depend on whether someone buys a new phone next year. Number 4, ecosystem lock-in is a moat. No competitor can cross. Ask yourself, how hard would it be for someone who owns an iPhone, a MacBook, AirPods, and Apple Watch and uses iCloud, iMessage, and Apple Pay to switch to Android? The answer is nearly impossible without significant pain and disruption. Apple has built what Warren Buffett calls a moat, a competitive barrier so deep and wide that rivals can barely get close. And every product launch widens that moat. Number 5. Brand premium drives margin, not just revenue. Apple consistently charges more than its competition, and people pay it. Willingly, happily even. That brand premium translates directly into profit margins that most companies in any industry would envy. Higher margins mean more cash. More cash means buybacks, dividends, reinvestment, and compounding returns for shareholders over time. This is not luck. This is a strategy refined over decades, one that has rewarded patient, long-term investors more consistently than almost any other asset in the market. So, here's the bottom line. Apple's product launch strategy is not just about selling the next shiny device. It's about reinforcing a global ecosystem that generates loyalty, recurring revenue, and compounding growth year after year after year. The results speak for themselves. If you had invested just $10,000 in Apple 10 years ago, you'd be sitting on over $900,000 today. That's not a fluke. That's the power of a business built on strategy, not just innovation. And the best part? The same fundamentals that drove that growth are still in place. The ecosystem is bigger. The services revenue is accelerating. The brand loyalty is arguably stronger than ever. Apple isn't a company that had its moment. Apple is a company that keeps engineering new moments on purpose. Now, this isn't financial advice. Always do your own research and speak to a qualified advisor before making any investment decisions. But as someone who studies businesses and strategies obsessively, I will tell you this. Understanding why Apple works the way it does is one of the most valuable things you can do as an investor, an entrepreneur, or just someone who wants to understand how the best in the world operate. If this video gave you a new perspective on Apple, drop a comment below. I genuinely read every single one. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button because we break down business strategy, investment thinking, and the stories behind the world's most powerful companies every single week. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.